This episode of the podcast is brought to you by our new sponsor, Impact Tactical. They're a tactical outfitter for first responders and military. Me, guys, personally, I can vouch for them and their quality service. I've used them for the last 11 years of my career. Be sure to check them out at impacttactical.com. That's MPAK tactical.com, and be sure to tell them that Two Cops One Donut sent you. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by HRH Combat Arms. They can turn your vision into reality. They specialize in gunsmithing and Cerakoting. Your Cerakote specialist is Air Force veteran and retired police sergeant Paul Ware, aka the Sarge. He can Cerakote your firearms, auto parts, tools, even your sports equipment. This veteran-owned business is located at 5025 Saunders Suite 103, Fort Worth, Texas 76119. You can call them at 682-304-0363, and you can find them online at www.hrhcombatarms.com. That's www.hrhcombatarms.com. All right, welcome back to Cops One Donut. I am your host, Eric Levine, and today we are going to talk about de-escalation, one of the hot topics, hot words of policing. And I brought on not a cop, but a expert in the field when it comes to control tactics, defensive tactics, what else? Whatever other words you want to call it. Basically, your hand-to-hand stuff when it comes to law enforcement. And he's got more than just that, but that's what we're going to focus on today. His name is Jonathan Burke. I think he goes by John. He's with Next Level Combatives. And welcome to the show, John.
Thanks, Eric. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, buddy. I'm pretty awesome. We got networked together through Suresh from 221B Tactical. Any officers out there listening? I've used 221B for quite a while. I really like their gloves, and they have the dry vest. Those are the two things I use the most from them.
Yes, I use their stuff.
Yeah, so check those out. Oh, and I also like when I worked downtown in the big city area, the wind comes through the big buildings a lot.
Yeah.
And he has these windproof. The sleeves are windproof, but the chest part of the shirt is not. It's like moisture wicking, which is perfect for the police world. So that's the other thing I like to use. So check out. Yeah, thanks, Suresh. Thanks for hooking us up.
Great products. Right? Yeah, Suresh, appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, I'm not paid by 221B. They're not a sponsor or nothing like that. It's just good shit. And Suresh is a good dude. And like I said, he got us hooked up. So what's up, John?
How are you, man? Just living the dream here in Orlando, Florida.
I know.
Central Florida. Been here since, when did I move here? 2002. So I'm a New Yorker originally. And, yep. And I make no apologies for that.
He's a Yankee.
I'm proud to be, however, I am a Dallas Cowboy fan. So I apologize to anybody who that might offend.
I'm sorry. I'm a Lions fan. So
interesting how I'm from New York, but I'm a Cowboy fan. But anyway, so, at age 18, I found the Gracies through a friend of mine and got involved in some jiu-jitsu and took me around the world back again. And final destination for now was Orlando, Florida. So that's where I'm at.
Nice. So growing up in New York, what part of New York were you in? What was your parents? Were they in law enforcement? Did you have people in the military? Because your focus is very, you would think that your lineage came from something like that.
Right. No. So the short-ish version is, right. Grew up single mom. Dad left when I was about 10. Didn't turn back. So my brother and I were raised by my mom, and super, super low middle class. She's out the door 4:30, hopping a train to New York City to work. She's an accountant and getting home 7, 8 at night, and weekends too during tax season, as you can imagine. So we were kind of left to our own devices. So I guess I would say security or insecurity was somehow on the forefront of my subconscious and conscious minds and world. And I just was always interested in martial arts. And I don't know where that came from, but I enjoyed the old Van Damme and Seagal movies. And yes. And, I always wanted to do it, but we had no money. And my mom certainly couldn't even get us there because she was never home. She was always out working. So a friend of mine, the family is very, very well to do. And a friend of mine, he said to me that his older brother was going to be home for the summer. And although they were very wealthy, the parents taught them the value of money. And he still had to earn his own money. and he was willing to charge me $10 for 2-hour lessons. And like, meaning a 2-hour lesson, not 1 hours, 2 hour session. So I was like, man, we can come up with $10. I can come up with $10. And I did a lesson, and then he told me I did one lesson, and it was karate or taekwondo or something. I don't remember, but it was something along those lines. And he said, hey, I'm leaving town for a week, and we'll pick up when I get back. And I said, fantastic. So he left town. He called me when he got back. I got to his house for lesson number 2. And he's maybe 5'9". You ask him, he's 6'4", but he's about 5'9", 140, 55, about Helio Gracie's dimensions. And he said to me, I went to the house, he said, hey, do you want to wrestle today? And I looked down at him like, yeah, let's go. And he tuned me up. And sure enough, he had gone to California, and he trained a week of private lessons with Hickson and Hawks and Gracie in the garage at their house. And he came back, and he executed it all on his new training dummy, right?
Yeah.
And he said, good, because I said, you got to teach me. This is all I want to do. And he said, good, because this is all we're doing from now on. We're not touching. So I almost became the karate guy. I almost did. I would have, with my obsession for the martial arts, had somebody steered me down that path, that's what I would have done. But anyway, stuck with that. And then we did a seminar. My first seminar with the Gracies was in Waterbury, Connecticut. And that's the same seminar that was Matt Serra's first day in first class.
Nice.
And and then I went back to college, and he said, what are you doing for spring break? And my whole fraternity, everybody's going to Cancun to do what you do in Cancun. Mm-hmm. And he said, you want to go train with Royce? Now, keep in mind, I met the Gracies a year prior to them launching the UFC. So at this point, they're just some Brazilian dudes who taught martial arts across the country. And I said, yeah, I'd love to go out there and train with him. And my mom, you're not joining a cult. And essentially, it is kind of what I did now when I really look back at it. But so Tony and I flew out there for my week, spring break, and we did 1 hour semi-private in the morning. So it'd be me and Tony and Royce. And then we do an hour in the afternoon with Royce. And after the first day, Royce asked us if we want to go to dinner. We went out to dinner. We had a great time. Royce and I just hit it off. He loved my sarcasm, my New York attitude. He got a kick out of it. And we clicked. And I told Tony, I said, I want to do this for a living. And Tony was like, man, listen, I know you enjoy this, but this is a hobby. You don't do this for a living. I come from a mom who was corporate America. My brother's corporate America. Most of my friends and their families were corporate America, where you get that job, you ride it out 30, 40 years, you get your retirement, you're done. And I just never had that in me. And so I decided to go this entrepreneurial route. And I got involved, and the Gracies offered me a summer internship. And I moved back to California for the summer. But prior to that, the UFC 1 launches. Royce wins. I end up moving out there for the summer. I live with Royce Gracie. I've got a cool photo album of that summer, and I just took it from there. I went back to New York. I commuted back and forth until I graduated college, and I moved straight to California.
Okay. So how old were you when you started getting into the martial arts?
18.
So you were 18. Okay. So you didn't grow up with it, but came into it. Could you imagine if you started when you were like 7, 8 years old? I get so jealous of these kids that get to do that now.
Oh, they don't even get what they've got. You know what I mean? Like, it's so frustrating to watch them and hear the complaining, and I'm like, I couldn't even we couldn't even buy a videotape to watch martial arts, let alone get to a gym with a qualified instructor. These kids, man.
For people listening, and if you're not into this type of thing, there's a developmental stage for everybody. And when you start training, whatever it is, orchestra, chess, jiu-jitsu, during these developmental phases of your life, like, it sticks with you in a way that other things never will, that you start training when you're 18. Now, you can be a freak athlete and just be a phenom like BJ Penn, who basically got a black belt in 3 years, put the time in, and is just a freak. But that's not the case for most of us.
Right.
We got to work at it. And for those now that get to start training when they're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, the type of natural abilities that they'll have, all things are kind of a perishable skill, but when you learn during a developmental phase, that perishable, it's not perishable. It's a muscle memory that you will never lose. And I'm so jealous. I wish I would have got to start training during that time. But you started at 18. That's awesome. Everybody listening, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the reason it's called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is because of the Gracies, okay? So I want the people listening to get the gravity of the seriousness of who I have on the show right now. The Gracies it started with Helio, which was the godfather of jiu-jitsu and the Gracie dad. He started the Gracie family. And then you got big names like Royce, that's Hickson. These are the ones that a lot of people know of. Right. Jon got his black belt directly from that lineage, these guys. Yeah. So he is, in a sense, the second generation of the first generation of jiu-jitsu. So that is the level he's at. Now, for my listeners, I have a new feature on my YouTube here. For my watchers, the ones that watch this stuff. I am going to share my screen now and just show you a little bit of what Jon has going on here. Now, Jon, for those listening, I got his Instagram up right now, his 6 levels jiu-jitsu. I believe that's where you do your jiu-jitsu out in Orlando, correct?
Yeah, that's my local gym in Orlando. Yeah, Winter Garden, Florida. Winter Garden's a suburb of Orlando. I'm 15 minutes away from downtown.
So if you're listening, I got a picture of Jon when he was a lot younger, but he is sitting side by side with the legend Helio Gracie. They both got the eye of the tiger going on right now. They're sitting down on the mats. Looks like they're in between rounds or probably watching some other guys roll.
We're actually, you're right. Technically, you are right. We were prepping for one of Royce's fights, and I was running the clock.
Okay, yeah.
And I was translating for Elio what was going on in English on the mat, what Royce was saying to everybody. So I speak Portuguese. I taught myself Portuguese. So I was translating for Elio.
That's amazing. How did you learn that?
Thick skin. I grabbed a book. And I went to when bookstores existed to date myself a little bit, Yeah. I went in Borders Books or Barnes and Nobles, grabbed the book. It was Portuguese from Rio. Had to be from Rio because the Gracies are from Rio.
Okay.
So finding the Portuguese book with the phonetics and the explanations and making it so that it's learnable and the right dialect was very difficult, but I found one. And I would walk into the Gracie Academy and I'd say something fundamental. And of course I butchered it and they'd all laugh and make fun of me and do the thing. And I just said, hey, great, now correct me. And they would correct me. And I would just record it in my brain. And I was like a parrot. I'd walk around all day at the Gracie Academy, like eyes closed, just saying this to myself constantly until eventually I got it. And about 6 months in, I was basic conversational. And then 10, 12 months in, I was fluent in Portuguese. I could read, write, and speak. So it helped me a lot in my relationship with the Gracies, particularly with Elio. And then, of course, being on Royce's fight teams and then going to Brazil. And it was just a great skill to have and still have.
Yeah. And the reason I'm bringing this up for people is you need to understand the level of skill set here. It's because we're going to get to talking about tactics and police training and stuff like that, de-escalation, and these all go hand in hand. So I'm building up here. I'm building up his ego for him so he doesn't have to do it in a way. So we go from that, and if you guys want to check out his Instagram, this is his Instagram for his jiu-jitsu. Yeah. So yeah, we got that up on the screen. That's six levels, and it's the Roman numerals for 6.
Yeah. But on Instagram, it is the numeric, the number 6. Yes.
Oh, correct. Yes. And if you go to the YouTube channel and you watch this podcast, you'll see I got it right up on the screen, him with Helio there, and it's fucking awesome. Dude, that's an epic picture. I was looking through your stuff, and that's the one that stuck out the most because I understand who you're sitting with there. So
yeah, if you know jiu-jitsu, you realize that's as close to God jiu-jitsu as you're going to get.
Right. So into getting people to buy into your skill set a little more, sir, I want to take a trip down memory lane.
Here we go.
I've pulled a video of you
Uh-oh.
In a real fight, guys. Now, this was as close to a safe and controlled real fight, an MMA fight, as you could get back in the day.
The only thing that was not allowed was biting, just so everyone knows. Okay. We allowed, everything else was 100% allowed. So you want me to set this up for you?
Yeah, set me up, sir.
So we were at the Gracie Academy. That was the downstairs training mat room. And there's a door behind me. I'm in the full gi. I'm a blue belt, 2nd level belt. The door behind me is the door to offices. On the far right of the screen, you'll see a looking glass window with a gentleman standing in there. And then behind the screen, behind the glass rather, which is off camera, is the other door. And whenever the guy walked in, said he wanted to fight, so they cleared out the room, signed a waiver. And this guy was from Bakersfield, California, and claiming to have a undefeated street fight record of something like 40, 50, and 0. And yeah, and it's hard to tell. He wasn't extremely muscular, but he's very dense muscle. If you can tell,
he looks like a farm boy.
Yeah, farm boy muscle, exactly. Gray T-shirt, facing camera with a black hat. Off my left shoulder is Royce Gracie. Royce Gracie will be the one explaining the rules. Then you got, some ancillary instructors, coaches, and inside circle people. Those were the only people allowed in the room. And I'm shocked this even got out because Royce Gracie always confiscated all cameras and videotapes. Because for anybody who knows, he made videos called Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in Action 1 and 2, which were fight compilation videos of Gracie challenge matches. So he was in the process of making tape 3 rather. And so, this was all property of his that he wanted to collect, produce, and put out for another video. So he didn't let people out. So when somebody told me this was out many years ago, I was shocked. It's also crazy to see myself. Now, round one, we were never allowed to hit our opponent back. We were allowed to do some love taps, nothing crazy. We couldn't punch, throw elbows or knees, no damaging striking at all, because Royce Gracie wanted to prove that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu on its own, when done properly, was more than enough to subdue an opponent who's coming at you with full aggression. So that's how we set this up. So round one, he's allowed to do whatever he wants to me, minus biting, but eye gouging, groin shots, finger pull, you name it, fish hooks, everything.
No shit.
Yeah, the only thing I could do back was some little love taps on the ground, nothing violent.
Okay.
And so there we go.
All right. So the thing that I want people to focus on this, for those that are watching, I'll try to describe it as it's going to, kind of like Joe Rogan. Is Jon in this is what's considered the 2nd belt in jiu-jitsu. It goes white, blue, purple, brown, black.
Yeah.
So he's
essentially a beginner.
Yeah, he's still a novice. He's got some basic skills in jiu-jitsu, and now he's honing in those basic skills. That's kind of where you're at with that level. Correct. And he is fighting a guy in a real fight. Like, it's a real fight.
Oh, yeah.
And I've already watched this video. That's how I found it. It is how a real video, or it's how a real fight typically happens, as far as realism. I don't want you to think of UFC, because that's a sport. I'm talking a real fight with Joe Blow. So from what he does in here, I want you to kind of think of a police mindset on this, of controlling, reversing, and keeping that control. And that's kind of what happens here. So I'll play it because I know people want to see this. I want to see it again. It's fun.
Oh, go on. Right? Yeah, there you go. Do the D.
All right, they're squaring up. We're playing a little distance game right now, circling each other. The guy's trying to throw overhand rights, but Jon closes the gap, gets in, gets his clinch. Now, typical jiu-jitsu. Yep. He's gonna take him to the ground. He's trying to. Yep. He's got him pushed up in the corner on the wall, and he pulls him into his guard. So right now, this guy has no shirt on. He's just in shorts. He's a big old farm boy. Jon has him in what's called full guard. He's throwing some heel kicks to his kidney area, just trying to distract him.
That's it. Yeah, nothing. Those are not damaging.
Yeah, he's not throwing any damaging blows. What he's doing is he's controlling. Now think as an officer. Right now, if you're the officer on the ground, you're controlling this guy. You're waiting for backup. This is perfect. He's controlling the arms. He's controlling the posture. This guy's, when I mean posture, he's not sitting up throwing blows. He's pulled down. He's got nothing. Now he's trying to break away. You had a good heel sweep there, opportunity.
No, he went for a foot lock and he missed it.
Yeah, oh yeah. So now he's trying to throw punches, but Jon again is controlling the distance by keeping this guy's hips back. Constantly transitioning, and he transitions into an armbar, and the guy taps. So that was what? All of less than 2 minutes? And the guy was gassed.
And I popped his arm, and the video cuts. If you not now, but whoever ends up watching, you'll see there's a cut. And he needed about 30, 40 minutes to ice his elbow and decide if he wanted to get back into the Shark Tank again. And he decided he did. But then the caveat, when Royce Gracie was the master salesman, is Royce Gracie would then say, you know, for example, let's say his name was Eric. He would say, Eric, is there something you feel you could have done differently to Jon that you didn't get a chance to do? And the reason for that is because when you get into a fist fight, you don't take it as a loss if you look pretty and everything's fine. You don't feel like you got beaten up. You feel like the dude just got lucky. He just, just got lucky. So he didn't really hurt me. So I bet I could beat him again, you know, or fight him again and really hurt him this time. So then Royce Gracie always had one caveat. He would say, great, do you want to fight someone else or the same guy? Most times they choose the same guy. He'd say, awesome. This time we're going to let our guy hit back. And the opponents were like, whoa.
He wasn't hitting to begin with?
Yeah, what do you mean we're going to let him hit back? And he said, I just wanted to show you that jiu-jitsu on its own as a martial art was more than enough. With that said, most people never wanted round two. They either wanted to just grapple at that point, or they pulled off altogether. And in this case, the guy wanted to grapple, and you know, I caught him in a rear naked choke.
Yes. So I'm not going to show the second one. I just wanted to show that one because like I said, it's a real fight. I'm going to exit out of that. We'll have your, if anybody would like to see his other business, Next Level Combatives, which we will talk about in a minute. But I wanted people to see your fight, to have people buy into your skill set. And that was at a blue belt. He's a black belt now, folks, a multi-level black belt, and has been that way for years. And so if he was fighting that good at the beginner level, imagine where he's at now. So, and he is trained.
I was what they call a mat rat, Eric. I lived jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, buddy.
Lived it with the source, you know.
Yes.
As Royce Gracie always said, the further from the source, the muddier the waters. So it doesn't mean that people can't be amazing further from the Gracie source. Of course they can. There's tons of amazing jiu-jitsu experts out there. But I was just lucky enough to be in the right place, right time with the right people.
Yeah, you were. Fucker.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous. Oh, fuck. That's amazing. Okay. So now that you guys understand Jon's skill set, Jon, go down the list of these police and military units that you've trained, because I know you've trained some SEALs and stuff like that, but you can list it better than me.
Yeah, so I've been very lucky and fortunate, of course, piggybacking off of the Gracies and being connected to them, and for many years known as their right-hand guy, and them including me graciously in a lot of their specialty seminars, and of course, being one of their main lead instructors at the academy. I parlayed that into my own, and I got to work with a lot of guys from Dev Group and from CAG and 82nd Airborne and Ranger Battalion, and then some British SAS and DEA, ATF, FBI, CIA, and on and on and on, SRT teams, the Air Marshals, U.S. Marshals. And it's not at all saying it in a braggadocious way. It's letting people know that I have the experience and time in the trenches, which is why you're putting me on your podcast right now and talking to me about my program that I've launched and is going nationwide and hopefully eventually globally is my goal, helping the law enforcement military protection community. I'm a big advocate of law enforcement military, even though I've never served, never been sworn. I've done protection work myself, but I love helping other people through my skill set, and I've dedicated my life to that. So that's kind of, you know, that's why the importance of some of my client list kind of helps, because sadly, it's not enough now to just say like, oh, I'm a black belt or I'm a whatever belt with whatever. There's a million of those every corner, you know?
Right.
But then you start to look further, and what separates people are the credentials as far as who they teach. Because as we all know, doing something is a specific skill. Teaching something is a specific skill, and the ability to do both is its own skill. And I've been very blessed with the ability to do both. One of the prime examples I use for everybody is Magic Johnson, hands down, one of the greatest top 20 basketball players of all time. As a coach and in the front office of the Lakers, he was a failure, right? So think about that. He was one of the best players of all time, and yet he couldn't coach to save his life. And then you have Phil Jackson, who is a mediocre at best NBA player. Most people don't even know that he made it to the NBA. And here he's revered as one of the greatest NBA coaches of all time. And I'm not saying I'm great on either side. I'm just saying I have the ability where I can execute both. And so, the teaching matters because of the client list, like the testimonial I just sent you.
Yeah.
My man things like that.
My man taught Shaq, baby. I love it.
Right. Well, these are people in groups that can hire anybody via finances or non-issues. And, I go to Fayetteville. I was at Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I was there when 9/11 happened and got to work as an advanced CQC team leader for the Air Marshal program. And, 30,000 feet. Nothing gets more close and personal than an aisleway of 36 inches or the pod or the galley.
Yeah.
And, the teaching resume and the credentials just sort of, I've had to figure out a lot of stuff on the fly and in the trenches, because learning Gracie Jiu-Jitsu on its own is, to me, one of the most priceless skill sets I've ever acquired. But that's in a mat room. How do you apply that when you're in an airplane seat, or you're in a bathroom stall, or you're extracting from a vehicle or a cell for an SRT team, doing a high risk extraction,
right.
So I've had to make a lot of tactical learning and education and enhancements over the years. So that's kind of, that resume is not to be impressive. It's just to let people know that I have experience with this specific.
Well, the thing that I like, and this is where we'll start getting into the de-escalation portion, because, typically, this show is about building trust with communities, and I want them to understand this part. The more trained you are in fighting, physically fighting, okay, and I'm not talking going out and shooting guns and shooting tasers and that stuff. The more training you get in physically fighting, the less often you'll have to actually use it. So in itself, learning it is a de-escalation.
And the less likely officers, EP or MIL, will feel the need, desire, or relevance to reach for a weapon, a secondary or tertiary weapon system. Because, when the hands are dialed in along with the mindset, the weapons aren't as important. They're not.
And so what we're saying on that is, if an officer who's not confident and is untrained, he is more likely to use a higher level of force when it isn't necessary. It only becomes necessary to that officer, the untrained officer, because he doesn't know anything else to do. He doesn't have those tools like what Jon and I are talking about. So not having those tools available in your mind, and tools, I mean learning grappling, not having that mindset, you're going to go to your taser more often, which has a higher potential for hurting the bad guy. And the goal is not to hurt anybody. We don't want to hurt ourselves. We don't want to hurt a citizen. We don't want to hurt the bad guy. So by becoming mentally prepared and physically prepared through the tools of things like Jon's program here, the P4 model, stuff like that, which we'll talk about, the language that we're using is vital to lowering uses of force. And that's part of de-escalation. Everybody thinks de-escalation is just words, talking people down. That's a part of it. Being able to talk is great, but physical fighting in itself, and it's hard for some people that have never been in a fight to understand this, but physical manipulation and fighting can actually be a de-escalation technique versus using just your words. It's the next level. If word
words, and what for putting police officers on hold for a second, think about the average Joe or Joanne that doesn't know how to is not trained, let's just say. God forbid they find themselves in some type of an assault situation. They're looking for a stick, a brick, a handful of sand, dirt. Right? They're looking for their force multipliers. Yeah, a little Van Damme action, I mean, but that's the truth. What does an animal do when its back's up against the wall? The claws come out, and it's, we look for weapons. The less training or less confident we have. Now, of course, there are situations where secondary and tertiary weapon systems are a must, right, to equalize the playing field. But for the most part, my experience of 30 years working with your community and the EP and MIL community, feedback from you guys, not me speaking from firsthand, of course, but the feedback is that when they're more trained, the weapon systems stay holstered.
You and I have talked about this offline, and a lot of people that listen, I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm out of practice. So if I went to a gym right now, I haven't rolled in 3 years. So if I go consistently, if I go to a gym, a blue belt is going to roll me up. An experienced white belt's probably going to roll me up. But the knowledge base is there. And when we're talking about being out in the streets, that knowledge base, just having that confidence and knowing what I'm doing, I don't use force hardly ever. Whether it's my words or just my appearance, my confidence, never putting myself in a bad spot, even if I don't realize I'm doing it, because that's the muscle memory of this type of training. So in itself, it's a de-escalation. And it's hard for people to wrap their mind around that unless you're saying something. Well, how are you de-escalating? If you're, no, they're measuring me up. The bad guy could be measuring me up, and because of the way I present myself, they're like, no, this ain't the one. Not today. Let me look for another officer later on. But this guy right now, I'm not going to do it. And everything ends peacefully, and that's great. That's what I want. So if we can get this training for the community to back up, like to see this and be like, I want my department to do this. I want my community out there listening that's not in my city, all the other cities. If you're listening to this and you're hearing Jon, check out Jon's stuff. We're going to talk about what Jon has to bring to the table. Now, I will tell you, and I'm already vouching for him. I have never been through his class, but in my 17 years of experience, it's his language he uses that I know he knows what the fuck he's talking about. And he's backed that up with being a damn Gracie Black Belt, original Gracie Black Belt. So I'm all on board with the Gracie training, but you have to sell me a little bit more when it comes to police stuff. Because what are we talking about, Jon? We're talking about police world and military world. Military world is kill or be killed most of the time. We're not worried about de-escalation necessarily when it comes to military, but a gun's usually involved, or some sort of weapon systems involved. And then when it comes to police world, it's the exact opposite. So the language changes significantly when it comes to military language and police language. And Jon has the police language, so that's what sold me. I mean, I watched a few of his videos offline when I was checking him out, and I'm telling you guys, you can't make up this language he's using. He knows the language to use. So, Jon, I want you to talk about Next Level Combatives, what it is. What are you offering to police departments out there that can help the community and the police bridge that gap?
Yeah, thank you for those really kind words. It's nice when somebody recognizes that you've put in the work, and I will continue to do so. Next Level Combatives is my company. It's a tactical company specializing in de-escalation training through use of both verbal and physical skill sets. The P4 program, which is our premier program, stands for planning, preparing, preventing, and prevailing. Typo. And so with that said, it's all about everybody every single day, whether you're a soccer mom, whether you're a police officer, whoever you are, you plan your day, you get ready for it, prepare for it. You try to prevent any hiccups or curveballs that might be coming your way. And prevailing could be, got my to-do list done. In your case, got home safely to the family, got little Bobby to the game on time, whatever the prevail is, right? And so, that model exists in everybody's lives all the time. How it applies to the law enforcement officer is, we talk about complacency kills, right? So when you have a plan, whatever that is, whether it be a routine traffic stop, which you know better than me, they're never routine, or a domestic violence, one of the most dangerous calls that exists, or something like a jaywalker, there's always got to be in your head that plan, that tactical mindset, that plan of What's my approach? What am I doing? Am I observing? Am I scanning, et cetera? So we talk a lot about that, not to bore the audience and get into what they already know, but I dive really deep into the psychology. I'm very big into psychology of humans and fighting. And then preparing. Are you prepared mentally? Are you prepared through a fitness aspect? Are you prepared through your hand-to-hand skills? Are your weapon systems, batteries dialed in? Are your optics cleared and clean and firing on right? Do you have one in the chambers? Your safe downs loaded on your holster? Like all these things, and my gear tight, my belt buckles tied tight so that if they rip, it doesn't come. Blah blah blah. Is my car tanked up with gas before I go on the road? You know, all these things that can help mitigate risk. And then, of course, preventing, using both verbal acuities as well as psychological, and understanding how to maybe help avoid situations, right? Because I tell everyone, you know, I get asked, how many fights have you been in? I don't have a number, but I can tell you I've avoided way more than I've been in by preventing those situations, whether it be through a visual or energetic confidence, by just staring them at the eyes and letting them know, hey, look, if we're going to go there, I feel comfortable to go there. I prefer not to, etc. And then, of course, prevailing is, for all of us, really, it's staying alive, staying healthy, and getting home safely at the end of the day for everybody, but particularly for the law enforcement world. Because I have the luxury of running away from the problem and calling you to come save me. You don't. You guys took a test, signed up, and put the badge on your chest to say no matter what the threat, what time of day, whatever the weather or situation, you have to run towards the threat. And I tell everybody, this plan, prepare, and preventing is very important because you're your own first and last line of defense. You can be the most highly trained person, right? But if you haven't planned and prepared and worked on your preventative measures, because maybe the ego or you believe you're invincible or what have you, right? That usually leads to failure, not prevailing. It usually does, because that ego, in my, you know, which stands for everyone's got one, EGO, right? It's dangerous, and it comes into play. And I find it's more dangerous when people optically size people up. Regardless, I'm getting off subject, but the Next Level Combatives, we specialize in that hand-to-hand and verbal de-escalation through my P4 program. It took me 4 years to develop the program. And at the time I started developing, I had been training, teaching, competing, fighting for 26 years. And I launched it about 2 years ago now. So I've gone nationwide with the program, very successfully so. And getting in front of people, and they're realizing, like you had said leading into the question, is I just have an ability to understand the law enforcement side of the coin through feedback from ladies and gentlemen like you and your coworkers from all around the world, and really processing, absorbing it, and having zero ego in the sense of saying, you know, that makes a lot of sense. How can I adjust or adapt what I'm trying to do for them to what makes sense to their psychology versus talking from a fighter's perspective or from just a jiu-jitsu perspective? Because that's not how you guys operate.
Right.
And you know, that's actually the smallest piece of your job. It's one of the most important pieces, but it's a small piece. You know, you guys have to be societal babysitters above everything. Psychology is way more important. And so I'm a big fan and proponent of teaching de-escalation through that. And that's what the company specializes in, of course.
Okay. So I'm trying, the cops are going to get this. Cops hearing this, they're going to understand what we're talking about. And the gun belt obviously is always the number one concern. And then the vest, the outer carrier vest, especially, that's the newest concern. So, these things through your training, these are addressed, correct?
100%. So my program, it seamlessly, I mean, to a T, seamlessly integrates with any and all weapon systems, whether you have a primary, secondary, use a drop holster, you have a play carry-on with, you know, other weapon systems and gear, just a belt, whether you work UC, you know, vehicle. It also seamlessly integrates with any and all current skills and experience levels. And I've built my own language so that, you know, another police department in your area, for example, you guys are running a joint task force, or you both happen to be at the same place, same time to make a non-compliant apprehension. With my program, you can speak the same language and make the apprehension far more effective and efficient versus not speaking the same language and needing multiple resources, which becomes ineffective. There's only so many people that can hold a frying pan when you're making eggs.
Right.
But if you get 10 people trying to hold the pan, someone's going to get burned, someone's going to get, slip on the floor, blah, blah, blah. And I know you get that. And so, I tell everyone when I teach my program is like the English language. There are 26 letters in the English language, okay? And everyone's like, duh, let me finish, right? The 26 letters make up over 1 million words, okay? So my program, I think it has actually 26 letters. I believe it's 25, but I'm just going to add one just to keep it so perfect.
That's awesome.
And I tell everyone, I'm going to give you the letters, and then you're going to build your own language. If you like doing things a certain way because of other martial arts background or because of your personality or your physical attributes or limited, I say blend them in, because my program is based on concepts and solutions and principles versus multi-step micro detail techniques. Under stress and pressure, the OODA loop, right?
Yep.
The human brain can only process so much information. And so what I tell everybody, my jiu-jitsu students alike, I say, listen, you have P4, but you have 4 R's in a fight, okay? Particularly for law enforcement who also have to abide by the law, right? You have to be able to stay relaxed because you got to be able to recognize what's happening so that you can recall the appropriate response and then respond. And so that's the OODA loop that I talk about in my program. We got to relax, recognize, recall, respond. Relax, recognize, recall, respond. Relax. And so I constantly stress that throughout my program, which is all about a general concept. Because we know under stress and pressure, I feed my kids for many years and my wife off Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Royce Gracie and I are like literal brothers minus blood. And, I swear by it. But when I would rather police officers be excellent at Gracie Jiu-Jitsu than nothing. But tactically, as somebody who's also worked all 3 firearm platforms for 15 years, shotgun, carbine, pistol, there's a lot of exposure tactical issues when you choose to engage in a ground fight. And I don't just mean for police officers, for anybody, for me included, who's an SME in ground fighting and combatives. I choose not to engage in a ground fight. And now, granted, you might say, well, you don't have to detain or apprehend the individual. To some level, I do, actually. To some level, I do, right? Because just being in a fight and trying to solve the problem with fists, well, they can knock us out also, right? If we say, well, I'm a Muay Thai expert, that's awesome. Okay. But remember, at the most elite level in the world, i.e. UFC, Bellator, former Strike Force, Pride fighting, the best in the world get knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
With one punch, the game can change. Anyone can get lucky with a punch, but not anyone can get lucky with close quarter body mechanic combatives. That luck doesn't exist there. Luck exists with the fist, with the elbow, the shin kick, or a blunt force trauma, but luck does not exist when you're locked up with somebody or tactically applying mechanics. It just doesn't.
Right.
And so I hard focus on mitigation of risk. Just because we train, it doesn't mean we're invincible. It means we've mitigated the risk to becoming the slowest gazelle that day on the plains of Africa.
Right.
But at the end of the day, perishable skill. I ask everybody this. I say, police officers, unfortunately, you guys don't get to do a lot of training. And I'm aware every department, every agency is slightly different. But across the board, the block training, it's either annual or every other year, anywhere from 2 to 8 hours. I mean, that's like saying I'm going to go to the gym one time and stay in shape for a whole year, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny because with fitness or firearms, you guys got to everybody understands that concept. But when you talk about it from a hand-to-hand perspective, people are like, I don't need to do that. Right. I'm good. I did block training 17 years ago with antiquated information. The bad guy girl's evolving. So we have to evolve as well. And, the last piece to just tie into before I, obviously let you talk and run your show is that everybody in the law enforcement industry, there's a disproportionate of training. And here's what I mean. There's a 1% chance a police officer is going to deploy a firearm, and even less of a chance they'll have to discharge rounds, unless you're on a specialized unit like a SWAT team or a narcotics, et cetera, right? There's a 99% chance you're going to go hands-on with somebody that day, that week, that month, multiple times. Even if it's a hand on the shoulder saying, sir, can we talk over here? Okay? However, 99% of law enforcement training is on that 1%, firearms qualifications, going to the range. And 1% of the training is on hand-to-hand, which is the 99% problem that happens every single day. So are people really surprised that weapons are reached for when most police officers, at least new ones, have never been hit in the face till they get on the job? Like, of course, I would reach for a weapon. I can't blame anybody. But my program, and yes, of course I'm biased, but the proof is in the pudding. My program offers and provides also a dry fire program. And what I mean by that is once you go through it, I have other tools and resources that go in conjunction with that. You can get better working off duty on a construction site, looking at my materials and getting better. Just like a golfer takes dry swings before he tees off, or, a fighter shadow boxing, or a baseball player gets in the on-deck circle. The brain doesn't know if you're really shooting the gun, swinging the golf club, hitting the baseball, or fist fighting. It understands the motions that you're going through, training your body. And so I built that into my program as well. And it's proven to be very powerful and gaining wide, traction, if you will, in your community. Gotcha.
All right. One of the things that I want to address for people, especially the community guys, I want to lower. This is part of what I want. I want to lower cops having to use intermediate to deadly weapons, firearms, tasers, all that stuff. All the bad videos we see is typically starts from a fight that gets drawn out. Both sides get tired. Both sides start doing stupid shit. Whether they're cops or the bad guy. And it's not, and I'm not saying that the cop was a stupid asshole for doing what he did. It's just, we don't think clearly anymore when we start to reach that exhaustion phase and the fight or flight starts to take over, because sometimes cops are very confident when they start going hands-on, and then they realize very quickly they don't have the skill set they thought they had. And that's bad. And this is where de-escalation comes in. If I can control and dominate a person on the ground with just my hands and my body weight, I will win a moral victory, a conscious victory over the bad guy without having to do anything, without having to punch him, without having to reach for my taser. There's a recent video. I know everybody knows what I'm talking about, but he had an officer. He had what I call a good top back control, and he didn't know what he had. He had all the tools and stuff that he needed to win that fight without doing any damage. And it didn't go that way because the training lacked. And when you can win in a physical confrontation without throwing a blow and without either side leaving there injured, seriously injured, that's de-escalation. That is de-escalation. You are preventing it from going further, from having to use a higher use of force. So when you guys are hearing this, this is where I want the buy-in from citizens. I want them to hear what you're saying, because you're not a cop and you're saying this stuff, and I am a cop, and this is how we win, guys. This is how we bridge this gap. I'm talking to a business owner. I'm talking to a guy. I'm not selling his product. He's not sponsoring this show. He just knows what the fuck he's talking about. And I see that as a cop, and I like that. So I got him on here. Now, my job is to help you understand what he's saying in the civilian world, and then get my fellow cops to be like, okay, maybe I need to start reflecting. Okay, maybe I am a badass shot, but I don't need to train every quarter for that 1%. Maybe I should start focusing my training on that every day, that the potential for the everyday contact. And by doing that, you prevent that 1%. You lower the risk of that 1% from happening. Now, I don't want you using jiu-jitsu if you got somebody pointing a gun at you. Obviously, I want you to address the threat. It's not impossible for jiu-jitsu to prevail, but I hope you're close when that shit goes down.
Or a faster IG draw, someone.
Something.
But, it's true what you said. Vince Lombardi, one of the greatest football coaches of all time, is, fatigue makes cowards of us all. When we get tired, and you don't have the luxury of quitting. In your case, you guys are out there fighting for your life, literally in most cases. That fatigue, that comes back to our training, our planning, our preparations, right? And so fitness also plays a role. You know, that's neglected a lot by law enforcement. And not pointing fingers, just reality. It's life. And one of the first questions I start every course I teach off, one of the first questions I start off with is, who here trains on their own dime and time?
Me.
And yeah, but most, sadly, the hands don't go up.
Yeah.
And it's, what are the reasons? I mean, no, I don't have time. Well, okay, well, the department won't pay, or, you know, it's, I'm busy, or I've got kids, or, and I respectfully understand all of those answers. But I also respectfully remind them that you signed up for a job where those excuses aren't allowed. Do you really want to be able to go home every night and mitigate the risk of not being the better person if it gets physical or lethal that day, that moment? That's no. So you should be working out, even if it's a 20-minute workout, right? You should be dry fire repping at home, doing tack reloads, admin reloads, making sure your gear's cleaned and prepped and ready. You should be doing some form of defensive tactics, whether you get together with some coworkers at the department's DT room, or you have a martial arts membership. You should be, because you signed up to enforce law, sometimes necessarily with physicality, sometimes with weapons, and you signed up to protect and serve. And if you're not fit and you're not capable with your weapon systems or trained with your hand-to-hand, how are you able to really do that job?
Yeah.
Right?
With confidence.
How? It's you become more of a liability than an asset to society. It's like gun owners who don't train firearms. They're liabilities. They're not assets. Just because you own a gun does not mean that I want you on my team.
Right.
And it's not, I'm standing on a soapbox. No, I've dedicated my life towards this skill set and this genre and helping your industry and others to the best of my ability. And I believe that there's a big reason too why a lot of officers, since that's the genre we're talking about right now, don't train. And it comes down to more so is they don't really like the information being presented. And I really do. I think anybody, it's human nature. When you're excited about something, you're more inclined to seek it out, search it out, find it, do it, whatever you want to say. You'll figure out the money, you'll figure out the time. If it resonates with you here in your heart or in your mind and you see the value. If that can't be sold, it's too easy to make excuses. And all the Navy SEAL speeches by Goggins and Jocko and all those guys, as in Tony Robbins, and I'm fans of all of them, by the way.
Who's going to row the boat?
You're right.
Fucking love it.
What do those mean if you yourself don't see the value?
Right.
Right. And that's where the old, you can lead the horse, right? So I believe I've come up with a concept and a program. In fact, I mean, I would be as bold as say, I know that I have, and I'm aware that's a bold statement. And it may sound cocky or arrogant, but I believe it's confidence, because who would want to take my course or work with me if I don't believe in myself and what I do to that level? And I mean, I teach officers how to build reactionary gaps on the ground. I teach them how to find and build the concept solutions on the vertical and horizontal plane, so they don't have to learn all new information. I teach them how the concepts and skill sets apply with and without weapons, how to utilize their gear without it being a weapon system to hurt, but it could be using their gear as far as just how they hook onto their plate carrier for leverage. Like, I get into all that stuff, and it all comes down to not having to use their weapons unless they have to use their weapons. And most times, the necessity for a weapon is due to lack of training or confidence.
Yes, absolutely. That's where, as a cop, I'm 100% with you on that. That's how, like, I talked about Jon's language, the way he verbalizes stuff, articulates it. That's huge in the police world. Is we try to stress, a hesitant officer is an unconfident officer. The hesitant unconfidence is because of the training. They're not confident in the training, so they are hesitant. And when we are hesitant, use of force goes up, or the likelihood for it to go up. So, folks out there listening, if you really want to back the blue, if you really want to see the bullshit, let's say you're anti-cop. I'm on board with you. as far as training goes, this is where you need to focus. This is, in my opinion, if we want to fix a lot of the stuff that's going on with police and uses of force, because people are upset about it. Laptop gonna die. If you're upset with the use of force, that people they're going to their guns too quick, or they're going to tasers too quick, or whatever, this is how you stop it. This is my opinion. I mean, I think I've got it backed up by proof, but this is my opinion on how we start lowering that. And when we lower that, we fix the communication issues with our community.
100%.
And you can see, just go to a jiu-jitsu gym yourself, go to one and see the difference. You got, one of my favorite things about jiu-jitsu is you got felons rolling with police officers. They're hand in hand. And it's great. It's a community builder. And it's a way to bridge that gap.
Oh, for sure. No, and I'm just going to change location.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, no. And that's the other thing too, which I want to point out is, you know, as far as my program goes, it's also proprietary. And by that, I mean, you're not going to find my program on YouTube. You're not going to find it anywhere other than at a live course with me or through my online digital portal, which I have to serve as either continuing education training or to serve as preparatory for a live course. And what I mean is, you know, a patient goes in for surgery. The whole team is preparing the patient. Then the surgeon comes in and everything's done, right? Or you go to a live course, you love the course, but how do you stay involved? Because that's the analogy I use about the gallon of milk. And what I mean by that is, if I took a gallon of milk and I put it on the counter, how long would you let the milk sit on the counter until you wouldn't drink it anymore? How long? How about you, Eric?
Maybe a half hour.
Okay.
Maybe.
I'm very weird about milk. For me, I'm talking maybe 5 minutes. I have this weird thing about milk. It needs to be ice cold.
Okay.
I'm just a weirdo.
It doesn't bother me, but yeah, it ain't getting up there much longer than a half hour.
But so now I take that and I spin that to, I come, I do your course, you go do whoever's course, whoever it is, you do the course. How far from that exiting that day, that course, that final rep, that thank you, that certificate, how long do you believe it goes until your milk curdles and spoils, meaning your skills? People don't say, so I have an online digital program that has a fully integrated and interactive training system. It tracks, it trains, you can build reports, you can use it to both advance officers DT, you can catch problem officers up front saying we're not getting enough, let's up it, so we can help reduce use of force through reporting as well, through the digital training on top of live training. So it's pretty cool. And I've tried to take all of your guys' conditions into consideration when building not just the physical live program, but the online program. Diamond time is hard, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm with you and training you, well, the money is no longer the issue because it's paid for, right?
Right.
And when I show you my dry fire program, I have successfully proven everywhere I go that I can make you better at hand-to-hand in under 5 minutes a day. And it sounds like a cheesy infomercial, but you know, and I know Suresh wouldn't have hooked us up, and we both value Suresh.
Yeah.
And my credentials speak for themselves in that regard. And that's why I will be a bit, I guess if you have to call it arrogant, but at the end of the day, I have proof of it all. And so when people say I don't have the time, how much time does it take once you learn firearms to dry fire? You could set your favorite song, 3-minute song, 5-minute song. You can get a ton of TAC reloads in that day. Next day, you do a bunch of administrative emergency reloads. Next day, you do some press checks with maybe malfunction clearing. You don't need 30, 40, 60, 80 minutes a day. You don't need to go fifth gear. And that's the other issue I have with the industry that I'm trying to change is I can't stand the two phrases, and I forgive myself, you like the way I said that, if I offend you, but I hate tools in the toolkit. I hate that term, and I'll explain why. And I hate force on force. I can't stand either of those terms.
Okay.
Which one do you want to attack me on first?
I don't ever use force on force.
Good.
I use I use tools in the toolbox, Batman belt, all those, I'll use all of those things.
So here's why I don't like, we'll just go tools with the toolkit, right? You can give me all the DeWalt Ryobis you want. I couldn't build you a home to save my fucking life.
Right.
So what good are tools in the toolkits if we, A, don't keep them fresh through training, or B, really even understand their application and where to implement and when and why to implement them? The tools are irrelevant without the knowledge base. So at a seminar, somebody shows you 52 things and there's just one more tool in the toolkit. Well, that brings me to Hicks Law, which I talk about. I told you I'm big into psychology. Hicks Law, do you know what Hicks Law? Have you heard of Hicks Law?
Is that do one kick 10,000 times? I don't know. I'm just...
No. Analysis paralysis. Essentially, Hicks Law says the more options you have, the more likely you're going to freeze and not be able to make any decision. So when you have all these tools and you're trying to recall under stress and pressure, how do you know where to go? That actually leads more to analysis paralysis, which can get the officer, or anybody for that matter, but I'm talking law enforcement, in more deeper trouble. Versus, okay, you go to a buffet, do you start at the dessert place, the salad bar, the meats, the seafood, the soups? Where do you begin? You go to an a la carte, soup, salad, steak, fish, cake, ice cream, tea, or coffee. Done. You can't mess up, right?
Right.
So I don't like tools in the toolkits because psychologically, I don't feel that's fair for the officer. I also don't like force on force because force on force implies one thing. You have to be the greater force to win every single time. You have to be.
Right.
And everybody says, no, you don't. Well, then why are we using the term force on force? Well, then if you don't have to be the greater force, which is what I believe, you have to understand how to flow with the force. So I call it flow on force, right? What built the Grand Canyon?
Water.
A river.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Flowing down, built what's known to man as one of the largest canyons we know about. Force on force. There's no way to know who and what is on the other side of that coin. We have no idea what kind of punch they can deliver, what kind of punch they can take. How trained are they? Flexible, endurance, background. Were they a former D1 wrestler that just let themselves get out of shape and they're now on PCP? And I've done some jiu-jitsu, so I'm going to shoot a double on what I didn't know was a Division I wrestler and get smashed into the concrete. Like, you have no clue. But my program focuses more on flow on force, teaching officers to become GPS tracking systems. The only thing you can control in a fight are your decisions, mentally and physically. That's all you can control. Force on force implies you can control the other person. You can't control the other person. Even when they're detained in cuffs or flex cuffs, they're not under control. They're under management. They're under mitigation of risk. They're not under full control. Full control, we would have to be anesthetized and muscle relaxed and unconscious for surgery. Now you have control.
Right.
And so that force on force, how do you tell the 5'9", 140-pound officer who's got to take out a 6'4", 208? All right, get that force on force. Doesn't matter how much force they try. They're not going to be the greater force. So I want officers to learn how to be surfers. You have two choices when it comes to a wave. Duck dive and come out the other side and wait for the next set, or turn around, jump up, and try to go where the wave takes you. I've yet to meet the person in the world that can turn around and push the wave back out to sea.
Yeah.
And everybody laughs, but that's force on force. And that's an example of you're not the greater force. So what would happen? You're drowned, you get dumped, right? And by the way, you can catch the wave and still get dumped. So that's when I talk about training doesn't eliminate risk of losing or sadly dying. It mitigates, right? So when officers learn how to flow with that force, the opponent, whoever it is, versus meet that force with more or greater force, especially when there's no fitness standards, there's no DT standards, and you're asking, that's why they go to, what do they go to? Force multipliers. So once we change the definition of force on force to flow on force or eliminate it altogether, you're not going to reach for, it's in the word, force multipliers, because it's proven that officers are not always the greater force. I'm not going to be the greater force every time. And if I'm the greater force, you know what I call myself? A bully. So you got to learn how to tactically, mechanically, solution-based defend yourself versus always being the bigger, stronger, you know?
Yeah. So cops are going to be listening to this and they're going to be like, all right, Levine's backing him up. You know, I see what he's doing. But there's stuff out there already. Like why am I choosing this over that?
Absolutely.
One of the common ones, and no disrespect to you or anything like that, but GST. Gracie Survival Tactics. I was a instructor. I think my certificate lapsed on that. Great program, very law enforcement friendly, with that idea. Now, this is where I like you, Jon. You learned from these guys, and then you put a focus into law enforcement and military, and you took what's out there and you built from that idea set and you made it your own. So what I'm excited about with your program is it's taken a concept just like jiu-jitsu, which jiu-jitsu started in Japan. So the
even before
right. Yeah. And so you take jiu-jitsu, and then the Brazilians, Helio and them, they took a concept and they're like, all right, that's great, but let's see what we can make into it. And then Jon went farther with something like GST. Hey, okay, that's great, but let me make something more of it. And that's what's cool. So for me, that's what I'm excited to dive into, is how it is different. And I think it's worth it for other agencies even if you are a GST guy, don't limit. I never, in my department personally, we're very progressive. We don't limit ourselves just because we found a way that works. Okay, this way works for us. Great. Does that mean I shut down anything else? No, we still keep looking at the new stuff that's coming down the pipe, or revisiting old things that we kind of dumped. And for whatever reason, the flow has come back to where, okay, this is a viable option again. Like rear naked chokes. Like chokes in law enforcement is one of these things. Like it was great when we first started. Now it's looked down upon. I guarantee eventually it's going to come back. It's just not going to come back right now. So that's a tool in the toolbox that you put away for now. And it could come back. So with Jon's training here and the focus on de-escalation, that is the key thing, because it is the hot word for police. And
right. I mean, you think about this. Sorry, Eric, but
no, you're good.
You know, Hidon and Henner were like little brothers to me. I helped raise them when I lived in Gracie Academy out in California. You know, they're phenomenal people. They're phenomenal instructors. So I don't really like to do the comparative analysis, but I can just tell you that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which I swear by, right? I'm Royce's black belt. Royce and I are to this day tight. He comes to my gym every year. I bring out Nate Diaz, Matt Serra. I mean, I am a diehard Gracie guy.
You got Diaz going there?
Let's start there before I get
Stockton slap, bitch.
but I know also, for me included, who carries every single day both firearm, extra mag, edged weapon, flashlight, there are tactical flaws to the program when it goes to the ground. And by that, you're choosing to engage in a ground fight, okay? The concepts, principles, and solutions that I teach keep the officers safe in the ground fight with the opportunity to apprehend or disengage. Backdoor, always leaving, your main shoot fails, you got to have that safety shoot.
Right.
I've left safety shoots in everything I do. As someone who has lived Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, I'm able to strip it down in a way that thinks more tactically for the officer. Plus, having worked 3 firearm platforms, like I said, the shotgun rifle and pistol, and carrying them and putting the program together with those things, I also have a good feel for those platforms, whereby I understand more so that if I'm engaging in a grappling match, that changes the dynamics quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so I think the GST program is phenomenal from my understanding of what I've seen of it. In fact, most law enforcement places I go to, there's at least 1 or 2 guys already GST certified. And that's great. And you know why? Because I'm not sitting here pounding my chest saying this is the only way. But I am pounding my chest saying this is a principle solution-based way, martial science versus martial art.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because there's a tremendous difference in both thought process and applications.
Correct.
When you strictly stick to a martial art, any martial art, forget Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, Any martial art, you're limited within the confines of that system. When you go with a martial science, which is what I've done, you are opening yourself up. So to be able to do and implement anything that makes sense from a tactical, and I say that because of your job, tactical perspective. It may not make sense if I'm standing up and you reach across from my gun to get you in a standing kimura because I give you my back. And if people don't know what I'm talking about, well, that's okay. But for those of you that understand what I'm talking about, you instantly go, oh my God, yeah. My program keeps you facing the suspect and gives you manipulation or management of their body and arm in under 3, 4, 5 seconds, keeping you facing the suspect while protecting your weapons.
Nice.
And it's hard to get it all through just conversation, right?
Right. Yeah.
But the other thing to keep in mind too is that, yeah, you can go to most of these people like GST or maybe Tony Blau or the Spears Park. You can probably go and find their videos and sign up and pay their monthly fees and do all that fun stuff and watch their videos. My online portal is more than that. It's interactive. It's got reporting systems. It's an integrated podcast type system where you can do, they do the Gracie breakdown. We can do for our customers. We do the breakdown independently, either Q&A or taking scenarios. The ability to print up reports and see who's using this, how it's being used, how much time are they investing in DT. I've set out deeper than just the hand-to-hand. I'm out there hoping to reduce use of force incidences, which will also then save agencies and departments money, and they can invest that money into officer safety, psychology, PTSD issues, other things more than just the program, the physical side. But the physical side, I mean, I've done things where I'm teaching officers how to build in reactionary gaps on the ground while protecting themselves. Again, how to disengage when it makes sense, stay engaged, but not engage in a ground fight. There's just, again, talking through self-defense, as Elio Gracie always said, is very tricky, right?
Yeah.
The easiest thing to do is just get on the mat and I can show you, right?
Yeah.
And so I can tell you this, and of course, anyone listening interested can always reach out, and I can provide insane references for people that will verify what I'm saying, that you get in front and most of the people have jaws dropped and they have brought me back and bringing me in on a continued, program usage because they see that I took the law enforcement approach way deeper than just the physical side.
Yeah. And the thing that I like that you said, and for people listening, they're like, okay, I get it. How do I measure this? How do I see the long term in this? If you're offering some sort of online tracking for anybody that wants to see if their investment to their police department is worth it, if you are offering online tracking, that can be used. They can say, okay, look, we started with this program a year ago. Here's how many officers participated. Here's their levels of use of force throughout the year. Look at what they were the year before prior to having the training. And that can go on and on and on and on and on for years to come. And then you may see a significant dip in uses of force, and you will have a measurable point of reference. And
correct. I provide the metrics to the departments using my program.
Type of analytics is key for any police department.
Think about this. Sports, golfers, they have golf balls with chips in them to measure all this stuff. Baseball, exit velocity of the pitch, loft speed, like every sport has it, right?
Right.
So I thought about that. I thought about the measurables and the metrics and the use of force incidences and saving you guys money on your general liability insurance binders and the internal affairs issues. And I looked past the tip of my nose further down the road and I said, if they could measure DT like everybody else measures everything else, well, how priceless could that be? And that's what I came up with. And again, just talking about it is like, yeah, okay, cool. I mean, of course, talking self-defense or the program is one thing. Seeing it live or getting access to a demonstration is another. And that's what I took into consideration because, I mean, to bring up recent events in the past few years, that Derek Chauvin, the police officer, of course.
Yes.
That guy, I think, had something like 9 issues on his record prior to that incident. So imagine you have a measurable system of tracking use of force and defensive tactics, or as my company says, redefining DT with de-escalation training. You take that, you can measure that. you can nip problem issues in the bud way earlier so those things don't need to happen. Or you can use it to accommodate people and say, wow, look at Eric Levine. He's putting in X amount of minutes. He's scoring. We have a fixed learning path. Officers can't skip around and hit videos they like. So it's a fixed learning path. We built in our own language system for communication because with Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, I have blue belts at my gym. There's a gym on the other side of the same town I live in. Those blue belts are just different. They call moves differently.
Yeah.
So it's not uniform. My system's uniform. It's scalable. It's duplicatable. It integrates with any and all current weapon systems and skill sets, as I mentioned earlier. And again, digitally, you can track and provide metrics to the departments using this, and they can help both reduce risk of force, use of force, liability, increase officer safety. And again, the dry fire program allows everyone who goes through my course to literally get better at hand-to-hand in under 5 minutes a day. And that's bare minimum.
Yeah.
So
that's something that we preach to our guys too. Like me, because of my academy teaching, every time I put my belt on, 10 draws. I do 10 draws every time I start a shift because I want to make sure my holster's functioning properly because it has a retention system to it and stuff like that. It's one of those weird things. Like even though I'm only doing it for less than 30 seconds, really, that muscle memory, even though it's a very small window, helps me. And it makes sure when I go to the range, my draws are smooth every time.
And so everybody knows that in every other sport. But for some reason with defensive tactics, it hasn't existed or they don't believe in it enough, which is bizarre to me, right? But I've developed the dry fire program for defensive tactics. I should say for my program, I've developed a dry fire program, and I have countless testimonials that can verify it. And it's pretty cool as a, quote, no-namer, right? I don't have a Gracie name. I'm not Tony Blauer. I'm nobody. I don't have a famous name. I'm Jon Burke, right?
Yep.
Blah, right? I'm just Jon Burke.
Jon
right?
Burke would whoop that ass if you tried to test him, though.
You know, now I'll teach someone to whoop that ass. But,
yeah,
you know, but at the end of the day, I truly, and I think you know it, you and I have spoken, I truly care about helping your industry because it sickens me when I hear stories of officers, you know, getting ambushed or hurt or shot or stabbed unnecessarily. So look, we can't control every situation, but the ones that are controllable, and by that I mean managing by being prepared through training up front, it sickens me when I hear those stories. It really, truly does. It gets me like really upset. And I have tons of friends who are police officers on the federal down to the local level, you know? And
yeah.
when I hear these stories and I see this stuff, it's like, oh, it just hurts. And so I set out to go deeper than just a physical program. And the proof is in the pudding. Like I said, I can provide countless testimonials and references and, you know, legal, I become your subject matter expert if I got to get subpoenaed and defend you in the court of law. And I mean, I can argue body mechanics with anybody in the world, you know? So
yeah. Do you have, so this will be big with off-duty cops, all my folks in Texas, because our Texas folk like to carry.
I love it.
I'm actually a part of a closed group.
Yep.
If anybody's ever interested on Facebook, they're called Crispy Donut Community. They're pretty fun, everyday carry group. So what I mean by everyday carry, for those that don't do this type of thing, carrying usually a knife, a flashlight, a gun, and then whatever other little odds and ends you like to carry on you every day. Me personally, when I go out, I always have my gun, I always have a flashlight, and a pocket knife. Those are the three things I always carry with me. Obviously, your wallet and stuff like that too, cell phone. But that's your everyday carry, and that's what that group's about. It's just talking about what they carry, how they carry it. You know, it's fun to talk about. For your program, retention of that stuff off duty is just as important. So
wait, can I cut? Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to. Do you have something?
You said that. Because I tell everybody in the course, I say, all right, you arrest me, you lock me up. Of course, you ruined my life, not my poor choices, you know, you.
Right.
You know, because everyone's innocent, right? So I go to jail. To you, I'm just some dumb number, right? That you forgot about the moment you handed me off to the CO. For me, you're the officer that's in my brain while I'm doing push-ups and pull-ups every day. And now I get out 18 months later, And I see
that happens sometimes. They do get out 18 minutes later.
My bad. I see you at Walmart with your child or your wife, and you're off duty, and you don't have access to the biggest gang in the world because you don't have comms on you.
Right.
And now, what are you going to do? You're your first and last line of defense, as I stress. So now you only as good as your backup at that point. But now at that point, your wife's your backup, your daughter, your kid, or nobody. It's the civilians you're hoping that will get involved in and maybe protect yourself. Just film it for social media. Now, where's your training at? These things all come into play. And that's what I stress about in my program. The program isn't just for when you're on duty. It's equally, if not more important off duty because you don't have access to your backup, right. You know?
Yeah. And for cops listening out there, because I have seen off-duty incidents happen, and I've also been a part of off-duty incidents happening. My mindset is in a different place when I'm not on the job. And I want other officers to think about this too. When I'm not on the job, even though my level of training with jiu-jitsu and all that stuff, when stuff happens off duty and you don't have those safety nets that you're used to having, that OODA loop, that lizard brain comes in quicker than you expect it to. And all the cool training and stuff you did on duty for police work, it doesn't necessarily translate when you're off duty, when your wife is right there, when your daughter's right there. Because now it's not just about you. Now this is a primal, fucking instinct.
You got your bags with you.
Yes, you are not touching my wife and kids type thing.
Right.
And you are not thinking the same. It's not business. That's what I tell cops. Like, this is business. Like, I don't hold anything personal against the bad guy. His job is to fuck with me. That's his job. I'm trying to stop him from doing that. When I'm off and I'm wearing, my Mandalorian crap out in the streets, and
it becomes emotional.
Yeah, emotions come into play. So this type of training
affects our ability to execute our skills if we're not as trained as we need to be.
Yes, and if you become I'm having trouble talking today. Well-rounded. Damn it, I can't get it. Okay, when you become well-rounded, in your off duty as well as your on duty, then that's the peaceful circle right there when we're talking about de-escalation, because now you're mastering your home and you're mastering your business at the same time. Right. And that de-escalation skill set right there is just invaluable. So that makes everybody safer, and that keeps those guns that, some people are against us carrying, not us, but people carrying guns out in public when they're not cops in general. Some people are against that. So I argue, if you are worried about somebody that carries a gun that's not trained in it, this is the type of training they need. It's not necessarily they need to go to the range and see how many times they can hit a target. It's how can they avoid ever having to use that gun in the first place? How can they avoid keeping that gun on them when another bad guy has really bad intentions, and then they discover, oh, he's got a gun on him. Now I'm going to get that. This is the de-escalation shit, and this is what Jon and I are preaching. This seems to be what Jon's mission is, which is going to help everybody. It's going to help the citizens. It's going to help the cops. It's going to help the military. I'm military as well, but we're not talking about military training today, which I have contacts for you down, in Lackland. I will get you hooked up with the guys down there too. And this is the shit. But do you got any other things that you want to bring up, Jon? Because I've hit as hard as I can on de-escalation.
Yeah, no, it's been great. I just want to stress to people, like, at the end of the day, whoever you ultimately decide to work with from a de-escalation training, defensive tactics perspective, just stay on top of the skills. Whatever it is. If it's me, of course, I would love the opportunity to work with whoever wants to work with me. But whoever you work with, whatever skill set you acquire, whether it's on your own dime and time through the department, stay on top of them. They are perishable, and they're more important than the 1%, the 99% hand to hand. That would be kind of, if we have to say parting words. And I've got a few taglines that I always kind of say in my Instagram messages is, always a student, always learning, always training, right? Keep your mind open. You never know what you might learn, right? And at the end of the day, it's better to have trained and not need it than need it and never trained.
Yep.
So, what do they say? You'd rather be like a warrior walking through the garden than a gardener walking through a war.
Yes. That's one of my favorite power sayings. Yeah.
But it's true. So I would urge all the law enforcement officers, anyone listening out there, just stay vigilant, stay on top of it, because, criminals don't give a shit. They don't discriminate. They don't say, oh, there's a police officer. More now than ever, the disrespect against law enforcement kills me. Mm-hmm. So more now than ever, it's almost like you're a bigger target than just a random civilian at this point.
And with this, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
I want people to understand, too, that, yes, cops are a target. But by learning this stuff, those cops that are out there that are a black eye for police work, or the bad apples, however you want to put it, stuff like this training can help get rid of the problems before we know they're there. This is one of those tools that can help shore up and make better cops. So it's not just about, I don't want it to ever just be about, oh, look how cool cops are. Look, we're up here, we're above everybody. No, that checks and balances. This program, these types of things, is a checks and balance and keeps good cops in the career field and lowers the bad cops from doing bad cop shit. So nobody hates a bad cop more than good cops. So and keep in mind, you guys are teammates, right? So you also don't want 5 guys doing training and 52 guys not, right? Right.
And so that's the other thing. My program, it speaks to everybody. And like I said, it's scalable and it's uniform. And what that means is, literally in the case of my program, whether you're in Maryland or you're in California or Arizona or Texas, my language is my language. My principles are my principles. My solutions are my solutions. You know, most of these other programs, it's just different. They're not speaking the same language, you know, because of the referencing of moves and techniques and titles. And so I tell my jiu-jitsu students this: you want to fight principles and positions, don't fight people. If you fight a person, you're at a bigger risk of losing than fighting principles and positions. And that's what I stress for law enforcement as well. So, I mean, I really, truly appreciate the time. I've nothing more to add. You've nailed it. You've covered it all. You've drawn every ounce of energy out. Now my 4-year-old's about to take the rest.
Well, before we let you go, sir, tell everybody how to find you and where to find you.
Thank you. Yeah, Instagram, it's Next Level Combatives. And my website is nextlevelcombatives.com. And then my P4 De-Escalation specifically is p4portal.com. And if you're in the local Florida, you ever land in Orlando and you want to train and work out with me, it's 6 Levels Orlando is my gym. The number 6, and the Instagram is just 6 Levels, but on the gym it's VI. Yeah, 6 Levels. Oh, there you go, man. You are so ahead of everybody on podcasting. Dude. Man, just remember me when you're bigger than Joe Rogan.
Yeah, okay? Right. I'm just, like I said, this is the first time. Anybody that watches this episode, this is the first time I've done what I've done on here, and I'm actually very impressed with it.
Oh, wait, I was your guinea pig? I'm your
you were the guinea pig. I've never done this before.
Wait, by the way, look at that picture down the middle. 3rd row down center picture.
Oh, yeah.
That's me helping Royce come out of Japan, Sakuraba.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's me on the far side.
I see it, yeah.
They'd broken his foot, yeah.
Dude, he is, I don't... Before you go,
I can tell you some stories
just
about that.
Tell me how they have this mindset of, fuck it, break it. I don't give a shit. I'm still going to roll through it. Dude,
gotta be a little bit, you got to have a screw loose to do that.
They do, for sure.
Yeah, but somebody would argue that law enforcement officers, you got to have a little bit of screw loose too to roll up to some random house of people you don't know who they are, and you're going to solve their domestic dispute, crimes of passion. Good luck. You're crazy.
That's fun.
It's always fist fighting.
But all right, brother, I appreciate it. And
thank you, Eric.
Yeah, like I said, we'll get connected and we'll start doing some cool stuff together.
Awesome time chatting with you. And I know you and I are both talkers. We could probably stay on for days and days and days, but I did tell you I had a 4-year-old at 2:30 that would kick my ass if I wasn't off.
No worries, sir. All right, brother. It's been real. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Take care, guys. Be safe, everyone.
All right.